so grateful to be here and very happy to discuss these incredibly important and hard to talk about topics. He has an incredible backbone and staggering moral fiber. Howie is totally committed, completely ethical, totally admirable. No pressure if you can hear this, but honestly, Howie's a hero to me.
John, you joined us before, and it was a pretty incredible kind of testimony you gave, and you just devoted your life to advocacy for child trafficking, and even 9/11 truth. Maybe you could explain to us, in the last decade, what do you think the most challenging parts of coming alive on some of these issues have been?
Probably the hardest thing, and it continues, is just realizing that pretty much everything that I was told and taught since I was in grade school is probably not true.
Ladies and gentlemen, the very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society, and we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. We decided long ago that the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment of pertinent facts far outweighed the dangers which are cited to justify it. Even today, there is little value in opposing the threat of a closed society by imitating its arbitrary restrictions. Even today, there is little value in ensuring the survival of our nation if our traditions do not survive with it. And there is very grave danger that an announced need for increased security will be seized upon by those anxious to expand its meaning to the very limits of official censorship and concealment. That I do not intend to permit to the extent that it's in my control. And no official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, civilian or military, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know. For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed. No president should fear public scrutiny of his program, for from that scrutiny comes understanding, and from that understanding comes support or opposition, and both are necessary. I am not asking your newspapers to support an administration, but I am asking your help in the tremendous task of informing and alerting the American people. For I have complete confidence in the response and dedication of our citizens whenever they are fully informed. I not only could not stifle controversy among your readers, I welcome it. This administration intends to be candid about its errors. For as a wise man once said, an error doesn't become a mistake until you refuse to correct it. We intend to accept full responsibility for our errors, and we expect you to point them out when we miss them. Without debate, without criticism, no administration and no country can succeed, and no republic can survive. That is why the Athenian lawmaker Solon decreed it a crime for any citizen to shrink from controversy. And that is why our press was protected by the First Amendment, the only business in America specifically protected by the Constitution, not primarily to amuse and entertain, not to emphasize the trivial and the sentimental, not to simply give the public what it wants, but to inform, to arouse, to reflect, to state our dangers and our opportunities, to indicate our crises and our choices, to lead, mold, educate, and sometimes even anger public opinion. This means greater coverage and analysis of international news, for it is no longer far away and foreign, but close at hand and local. It means greater attention to improved understanding of the news, as well as improved transmission. And it means, finally, that government at all levels must meet its obligation to provide you with the fullest possible information outside the narrowest limits of national security. And so it is to the printing press, to the recorder of man's deeds, the keeper of his conscience, the courier of his news, that we look for strength and assistance, confident that with your help, man will be what he was born to be, free and independent.
Good evening and welcome to the Traffic Report. It's about 12:07 on the Eastern Seaboard, and those were honored words. And along with those words, we have an honored guest, Missy. Good evening.
Hi, guys. How are you?
Okay, I always get a little emotional when I hear those words, and we're going to try to do what was said and be free and independent tonight, and piss some people off. I think was said in there in a better way than I say it, and Howie's really good at that. That's why I love him so much. How you doing, Howie?
Doing good, John. I'm doing well, John. But I love you, but you didn't surprise me tonight. I knew that was coming. That's why I was on. That's why when we were talking earlier, I got quiet because I was trying to figure out what was 5 minutes, if this speech was 5 minutes. But yeah, I absolutely love that speech. There's 3 presidential speeches that I just love. Obviously Eisenhower's military-industrial complex speech, John F. Kennedy's secret society speech, and there's also one from Jimmy Carter talking about consumption. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but it's probably the last time you saw a president speak like that. If anybody ever wants to check that out, Jimmy Carter, it's probably from like 1970, might be 1979, and basically warning the American public of consumerism. So that's all.
Well, I just for people that this is maybe their first time listening, Missy was on the show. You can listen to both of her shows on the archives. She's a survivor of child sexual abuse, and I consider one of the most informed and knowledgeable people I've ever encountered on any topic that has to do with anything that we're doing on the Traffic Report, from DCF to psychological profiles to, I mean, she constantly amazes me with the breadth of her knowledge and her ability to deliver it. And she has a YouTube channel. Which one is that now? I don't want to screw that up.
Running from Chaos. And I'm also going to be starting another channel, I think, called Out of the Shadows of Shame. And that's going to be directly related to this topic, because some of my followers on the Running from Chaos channel are very sensitive, being victims themselves. And so they might not, want that to be there. That's focused mostly on, narcissism and cluster B personality disorders and the kind of abuse that those type of people inflict. And that can be emotional, sexual, financial, you name it. So, so I'm working on some material for the new channel. I just haven't really gotten it up and running yet. So Out of the Shadows of Shame will be the new one.
I'm sure if it's anything like the one you already have, it'll be amazing, because I haven't watched all the videos on there, but I've watched, I'd say, about half of them, and I just need to make more time. There's just not enough time in the day, and we'll be tweeting them out, and we're just so grateful to have you as part of the crowdsource. That's what's so the best thing that I've seen come out of this. We're going to talk about Howie's got some news that was just breaking today, I believe, but right off the bat, I want the Twitter feed has been off the chain. The followers are just doing some amazing stuff and giving us some amazing information, and you all know who you are. There's just too many to mention tonight, but you're definitely one of them, and the others, you know who you are. I don't want to. We got a lot of ground to cover tonight, and but just thank you all. And on Facebook, right off the bat, we had somebody call or come off the Facebook page it's not exactly what we're talking about tonight, but it's in the state of Georgia, and it has to do with Department of Children and Families, and we're going to do whatever we can help, because that's kind of what got this whole thing going, was what had occurred with Adrian in DCF in Kansas City, and I know you cover all those areas, Missy, and Howie does, and so just a couple of shout outs just off the bat. And Howie, did you had that you were.
No, you know what? It doesn't really fit in so well. I mean, it's been tweeted out to Petergate News. It's about a child porn arrest outside of Philadelphia, but it's on Petergate News, and we'll talk about it some other time. It's not a major thing. It was just who it was in this little township, and another story also from that township. But
is that the guy that's the school administrator?
No, he was the president of the Board of Commissions. I'm not exactly sure what the Board of Commissions is. It's a township. It's called Radnor Township. It's a pretty affluent township. The president got arrested for child pornography, and earlier this summer, another member of the commission he got probation for molesting a 103-year-old woman in a nursing home.
Oh,
so
good God.
So when I have more time, I'm going to try and figure out what the hell is going on in Radnor, Pennsylvania. So, but anyway, we can move on from that.
All right.
I did.
Tonight, and just to review also, this came up because all of us, thank God there's many of us doing this, because there's just so much information. But it came to me through a friend who had found these identification paperwork that she didn't even know existed. And when you pull out a paperwork with your kid's picture on it and their fingerprint, and you see the Masonic symbol on it and has never heard of it, and it the hairs on the back of my neck just stood up, when I heard the story. And I actually saw one of these brochures, and the child picture. I will never forget that. That's one thing I will never forget. There's a lot of images that don't ever leave me, and one of them will be this young child's picture on one of these brochures. And it was intuition at that point, but it just didn't sound right. And if it was on the up and up and something good, I'm pretty sure we all would have heard of it now. So we started to investigate, and the link that we just posted is even a broke clock is right twice a day. We were talking about, but and there are good things coming out of, even the mainstream media. And HuffPost in Canada, her name's Amy McPherson. I'm trying to contact her, as a matter of fact, because I want to talk to her and see, more of what happened in Canada. But she wrote a great article on this program, and just how nonsensical it was, and how weird it was, and just unnecessary, and an invasion of privacy, and probably a risk to kids. And apparently, after that article was published, this program, they had a national website that was supposed to be, I guess, to organize all these programs in the different states. Well, that website now, I believe it's let me see, I got it right here. It's Masonic Chip blogspot.com or no, it was www.masonicchip.org, and that is now a Spanish language poker site. So I think the grand plan has kind of come apart, as far as this program, and I'm kind of relieved. But I know, Missy, you were doing a lot of research today, and it seems like this has just gone underground, for lack of a better word.
From what I can tell, I mean, it's very difficult to find information like this. It's not readily, available. You're not going to just type it into Google and it's going to pop up. It seems like these programs are still active in multiple states. And like, I think you had said to me before that website kind of goes nowhere. Where's the information?
A lot of dead links.
Yeah, where's the information stored? It's pictures of children with copies of their fingerprints. It offers the ability to store DNA, and I think that these programs are propositioned to parents as if, oh, here, sign up your kid, take their picture, let's do their fingerprint, and you keep this on file in case your child ever goes missing. And so, of course, parents are going to be, chomping at the bit to do that. Oh, this is a great idea. Not understanding, who stores the information, where is it cataloged, where is it stored. And some of the brochures or some of these things that we found, it says that the information is not kept, that it's deleted immediately. But then again, they tell you that they'll give you a CD with the information on it. Well, the information would need to be transmitted through a computer and put onto a CD. So, there's still residual information. Do you see what I'm saying? Like the cataloging.
Absolutely. And I mean, number one, I was shocked to find an active website, which we did. And apparently that's also in the show notes, and we'll be tweeting it out and have tweeted it out. But it's apparently the state Masonic organization. It's still active, and I'm going to read a little bit out of this, what I consider, and let's just say off the bat too, because I have friends that are Masons, and they're very touchy, about anything like this, being talked about, and I can understand why. And we'll just say at the outset, like with every other organization that we've encountered, the Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts, USA Gymnastics, Indiana University, and the Kinsey Institute, and the Louisville Police Department and other police departments, the FBI, that the majority of people in these organizations, number one, have no idea if anything untoward is happening, and they're in them for good reasons and to try to help the community that they live in. So let's just say that right off the bat. And that being said, and I tell my own friends this, it's like, do your own research, because the research that I have done is very, very alarming, as far as that organization goes. And this is just another red flag to me. But what's been your experience with that, Howie? I mean, you've encountered some of this on Twitter, right?
As far, I'm sorry. I wasn't.
Miles away.
No, it wasn't. I wasn't miles away. I was trying to find.
I was kidding.
No, it's with the microchipping. There was an interview. I don't know when it was done. It was on Good Morning America when Diane Sawyer was still on Good Morning America, and they had the first family that had their child microchipped, and and the woman was just beaming how she just feels like this needed to be done, especially, and she referenced because everything that happened with 9/11, and I'm like, what? So I was actually trying to find the video. Yeah, the first microchip, and just trying to promote it as like this wonderful thing. I don't know who microchipped their children at the time, but yeah, they went on Good Morning America, and and the woman's main reason, in the trying times we live in, especially everything with 9/11, I feel so much safer with my child microchip. So.
That's
Well, they're offering it with companies for their employees, and they're saying that the microchips are, for convenience, and that you can open, doors that you would otherwise have to do, a keypad or a fingerprint, or you can access the soda machine or the
blah 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 blah.
Exactly.
That's all I
You
hear.
can't spend 10 seconds opening the door or putting in a quarter.
Oh yeah. Well, these busy times that we live in,
Yeah, but what I was saying is, you've had some pretty unique experiences with somebody that's in the Masons on Twitter, right, Howie?
Oh yeah. I mean, we talked about it. We talked about it last time. I'll try and keep a long story short, but a senator from Maryland, his name's Ben Cardin. He came to Philadelphia during the election to campaign for Hillary. Why he did it in Philadelphia, no idea. But he came to a synagogue very close to me, and I went to see his little town hall thing. And afterward, I didn't know much about him. I researched him, and it turned out his father was a 33rd degree Freemason. Interesting about the Cardins, he started in Maryland politics before he became a U.S. senator. And someone in that family had held this, I don't know if it was a state house seat or whatever the seat was. Someone like in the Cardin family held it for close to 40 years.
Oh.
It was unbelievable. And and Cardin's nephew had just run for something, but he had lost. But anyway, when I found out his dad was a 33rd degree Mason, 33rd degree, I was tweeting at Ben Cardin because he lied at this town hall. It was about WikiLeaks. So I was tweeting at him, and I was really upset. Well, this Freemason from Idaho, just found me because I was using the hashtag whatever Masons, Freemasons, whatever. And we had this long conversation. And when John did the same thing in regards to this. The same guy came back. I mean, it said the same picture, Barry Newell, and he's from Idaho.
Yeah.
And, I was like, oh my God, dude, don't you remember me? And it happened to be the night before I went down the comment ping pong that I was going back and forth on Twitter with this guy. And, this time he completely denied ever talking to me or couldn't remember me. I'm like, whatever, dude, you totally remember me. I'm still here. But, it's just funny that, if you say something negative against these people, even in a hashtag, this guy Barry from Idaho, he's right there to, jump all over.
Yeah. What's ridiculous, and the pushback that I've gotten on Facebook is also ridiculous. They don't even read, and let me just start doing this. So this is, and I encourage you to go to their website, which is, gachip.org. Okay, that's the state organization for Masonic lodges in Georgia, and it goes to this program. They have dates coming up really soon, and I'd really be interested to go there and see exactly what they do, because it's pretty miraculous. Everything that I understand about computers and DNA, what they're saying in this ad isn't even possible. But let me just go through this, because it has, first of all, it has a really disturbing picture of two little kids. Like this is going to save them from the pedophile networks and what's going on. So that was the first thing that bothered me. So about us. And it says the GA chip provides a valuable tool for parents or guardians on a small computer disk that includes full color digital photographs showing various poses of a child. Why would you need various poses? Okay, at any rate, these color photographs can be circulated by the police to the media in the case of abduction and can be used in the Amber Alert program. Well, we'll move on from that. And so complete set of digital fingerprints. Everyone's fingerprints are unique and are a well-known tool for recovery, investigation, and identification. Here it is. And please, and I know you guys know, but anybody listening to this, please send people to this section of it, because it's up on a picture. It's circled in red, and it says "really" on it. Their next claim is about DNA and scent. The swift recovery of a missing person can be aided by tracking dogs. Okay, so number one, how do they? Nobody there in the parking lot of the Food King or wherever they're at is qualified to collect DNA. Number one, okay. If it was collected, it's not compatible with any law enforcement database that exists. Okay, so that's number two. They're really going to have to explain to me, how do they mean a dog can sniff this disc and finds your kid? Because that's so ridiculous that, red flag, siren. And it's just ridiculous. And this is what they're telling parents. So they're lying in their ad already. Okay, so to me, that's kind of a big red flag. And the other part, and please read that article. We'll be reposting that. It'll be in the show notes. That's what HuffPost Amy McPherson was pointing out, that none of this information is compatible with law enforcement databases. Children's DNA is not required to identify a dead child. That can be done through the parents and other means. And it's just very more than odd and dishonest right off the bat. So this needs, and I'll just let people listening out there, we are not going to be the only ones investigating this, okay? Because we feel like it's very serious. It needs to be looked into. Their affiliation, which they put right on their website, they got an award from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children.
There's the ultimate seal of approval.
Yeah. So let me just finish this out. Okay, information about the child, including distinguishing features, hair, eye color, scars, etc. The disc will also contain contact information for parents or guardians, in case you're too dumb to call the cops. All of the identifying information collected at the event about the child is given to the child's family. The GA chip program retains only the permission slip that must be signed prior to participation in the event. All other data is permanently erased after the child's document is prepared. Then if that's the case, and the CD you get isn't compatible with anything in law enforcement, what is it good for? Reminding you what color your kid's hair was? And this is just off the chain. And we find, and people like Missy and other investigators that are, have our children's best interests at heart. They're going to dig down, and already today, and I had the feeling that they probably didn't scrap this completely. It's probably just gone internal, and but they, and I guess
they didn't.
They're out in public.
They didn't scrap it, because right on their website they said there's upcoming events, and there's 7 upcoming events where they're going to be chipping children, I guess.
Yeah, and right now I think, and I'm not sure, Missy, maybe you can tell us what you think about this with your
the research that you've done, but it seems to me that was the end result, that at some point you'd be showing up and getting a chip put in your kid. But that's been kind of derailed. What do you think, Missy?
I think just generally speaking, there's a huge push for chipping, and this is part of how they are convincing people, especially when it comes to children. You can track them, through GPS, or you can, whatever. And then the acronym for CHIP, I can't remember exactly. It's like Child something identification program. So it's got a double meaning. It's an acronym, but then also means the chip and, referring to eventually an actual chip that would maybe contain that same information that they're saying would be contained on that CD, which would be not make any sense because the child's DNA is already in the child. What you do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. And we were talking about that brochure, and there was a place on it for hair and fingernails. Okay, so how does that get into that disc? They're going to have to explain. They need to explain this to the FBI is who they need to explain it to. Okay, how does that get in that disc? What are they doing with it? Are they collecting samples? Do they everything gets given back to the parents? So they give you back the hair and the fingernails.
Well, and let's remember this: DNA is not an instantaneous process when you're standing in the parking lot or at the county fair, where you clip a picture, a bit of your kid's hair, and you give it to them, and they go, "Okay, we're going to scan this through the magic DNA machine," and all of a sudden, boom, you're going to have all your kid's DNA markers printed out on this disc. That doesn't happen. That's not the way DNA, and like you had said, as far as contamination or people being qualified and equipped to take DNA samples, and it's the process that they are portraying as happening is not physically possible with the technology that is readily available, especially to people who are outside law enforcement.
And if this thing is such a good idea and such a wonderful thing, why do they need to lie about it? Why does it go from being a national, almost international program with its own website that's now the poker website, and now you go on Google and it's very difficult to even find any information on it whatsoever.
And to be honest with you, I'm curious as to the actual veracity of that poker website.
I don't know, but Amy McPherson is on Twitter. I just found out. Ooh. You can tell. Yeah,
that would be an interesting person to get some information from. When was that HuffPost article done?
Let's see. That was done in 2012, and I'm pretty
5 years ago.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that program has barely been heard of since, and I'm not sure if that's why I want to talk to Amy, what more was done about it, who else reported on it, but it seems something happened that, now to have their website defunct, and, this just kind of, in Georgia, it's plainly visible, and I'm not sure that makes it any better, because a lot of the stuff that's, damaging our kids, and we talked about social media too. They're catalogs for these pedophiles. I mean, we know that through facts uncovered by law enforcement that Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and et cetera, are being used, by not only the lone wolf individual pedophile, but these networks and these sick, degenerates are using these as catalogs to pick what kids are going to be abducted.
Yeah,
John,
there was
okay. I just want to say, as we're talking about this, I figured maybe making a phone call to the, the GA chip program might not be a bad idea. Unfortunately, there's no telephone number on their website. Now, they say they're the Grand Lodge of Georgia. The only thing I found on Charity Navigator is the Masonic Home of Georgia. So I don't know if they're the same thing, but they're both based in Macon, Georgia. They have different zip codes, but obviously they're big in Macon. But the Masonic Home of Georgia, which is the 501c3, which in 2014 had revenue of close to $3 million. Their summary of the organization's mission. Now, this is the Masonic Home of Georgia. Their mission statement on their 990 form, which is their tax form. Rearing homeless children, including education beyond high school. Population of home was 31 at the beginning of the year and 30 at the end of the year. So the Masonic Home of Georgia. Okay, this must be different, but they have a home in Georgia that's taking care of homeless children. I guess this is actually a different one, but once again, this is in Macon, Georgia. They're very involved with children, is what I'm trying to get at. Yeah. Which I didn't think that was like the Masons thing. Like.
Mm-hmm. Well, you were doing a little research on their decorative jewelry today, Missy, and there's a couple of organizations that we were talking about. One of them is the Eastern Star, and I guess that's Masonic women type organization, and they have something called the Rainbow something or other. I don't even know the last part of it, but that's for young women. I guess
Daughters is one of them. Is an affiliated program for women. Job's Daughters, and I've known about Job's Daughters since I was a child. I knew an older woman that had her daughters in that, and I never knew that it was affiliated or anything like that until I came across this information. So I was a little bit surprised. But yeah, and that those pictures that I was showing you about those lapel pins, I was actually looking for something else, completely different, and just came across those, and it was just on Google Images, and I just was like, whoa, this is not what I as a lapel pin.
Do you want to say it, or do I get to say that? What she found. And this is not uncommon because like I tell my Masonic friends, do your research if you research any of this, and probably the best, and nobody is going to do this, but Bill Cooper, just Google him, and all his shows are on MP3 on the internet, and he does a 23-hour explanation of what Freemasonry is, its origins, and Mystery Babylon religion, which is an esoteric religion basically that came out of Egypt. And one of their symbols is the penis. And this little, either it's a hell of a coincidence, or this pin that this person who's supervising kids is taking care of looks exactly like a penis to me, and please do your own research. And that whole religion, we didn't make any of this up. It's in history books. Bill Cooper had one of the biggest libraries there are on, all of the Masonic teachings, the esoteric religion, and it's basically that's what it is. And it's a they're free to practice their own religion, but it's definitely, and you can see its influence everywhere in symbolism all over this country. The Washington Monument and those three, and what they represent in this religion are penises, and that's the Washington Monument. There's one in the city of London, coincidentally, and also in the Vatican. And all these societies are linked, secret societies. So, sue us. We want to investigate this. We want to, see exactly what's going on. And the Rotary Club is not located a block from the White House, but the Scottish Rite Temple is, and unless that was a mistake or another one of these incredible coincidences, this needs to be looked at. And if you think that's a coincidence, then you haven't been paying attention. So, and I encourage everybody just the people that are in Masonry and that have no idea about this, do your own research. Will they kick you out? Well, then you get kicked out, but this is all in black and white. It's factual material. It's documented, and it's just very disturbing. And another one of the aspects that we're covering, with this, and it's very troubling, is the involvement by these organizations, and especially there's more documentation about it in Britain, because they have been fighting this battle a lot longer. Well, we've both been fighting it the same amount of time, but they have been more effective. And as their child sex abuse inquiry came about and started to rattle the cages of the police and the high-level politicians, this is what was unearthed, okay? And it's documented fact that members of these Masonic organizations within the police department hindered in every way possible that inquiry, okay? And the example that we have up, and we're not saying this is all Masons or even close to that, but the example of the serial sex offender that ended up murdering all these kids and a teacher in Scotland, that's one of our links too, and he's proudly standing up there with his his Masonic whatever that thing is, and it's very troubling, and everything that we found out, from the corridors of power, the Knights of Malta, the Vatican P2 Lodge, somebody needs to be asking questions, about this. What are these organizations? And they're done. And the way I understand it, the oath that they take, your first responsibility is to one of your fellow Masons. It's not to the laws of this land, a police officer, so that is, and that's what Kennedy was talking about, and Kennedy was a very smart guy, because, people listen to that and they think, oh, he's that monolithic conspiracy. He's talking about, the Masons. Well, no, he's talking about the Soviet Union. Okay. And, but it would not be lost on Kennedy starting out the speech as he did and ending it as he did, that just like a lot of that symbolism that's out there in our faces, what he was saying had two meanings too. Mm-hmm. And, those words, had they been heeded, we would live in a different country today. And sadly, we live in the one that we live in.
Missy, do you know this? Because I was going through Charity Navigator, and I was just trying to find anything related to the CHIP program, because it seemed like it was a specific 501c3. But the Free and Accepted Masons of Georgia. There's 16 pages of lodges at 20 lodges per page, so 320 Masonic lodges in Georgia, just in Georgia alone.
Wow. No, I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, like towns you never heard of. I'm just looking: Lane Park, Clarksville, Greenville, Cochran, Savannah, Chickamauga. I wonder, I don't know if there's something specific to Georgia about.
No, they're everywhere.
Besides the guidestones, you mean?
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying 320 lodges in one state just seems like overkill to me. But
excessive.
Tell you what. On Thursday, that's going to be the homework assignment. I'm gonna look up, and I know it right here. There's this little one-horse town that we live by. There's three there. There's three of them. So no, that doesn't sound off kilter at all. It sounds kind of low,
Wow. Okay. Well,
the only thing I would think, logically speaking, that comes to mind is just the history of that part of the country, that, there have been people in that area for a really long time. And, just over the time, historical, that would just be my, my first guess, but that doesn't mean it's accurate.
Check out how many lodges there are.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, there's many, and just like everything else that we're finding out, these levels of secrecy, levels of corruption, levels of pedophilia are interlaced throughout all our organizations. So why, and that's a question I like to pose to Masons. Why would the Masons be any different? If our government is infiltrated by these, if our police departments are, as proof, they're trafficking explorers at the Louisville Police Department, and that's not the only one. Why would they be any different? So, like,
and I just
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, if we were asking questions like this of other secret organizations, like, gang members or biker clubs or, the mafia or something like that, something that had kind of a seedy reputation, nobody would be upset about the fact that we're asking questions. They would be saying, yeah, go ahead, go for it. That's, we got to figure this out. But because these are supposedly people who are upstanding citizens and, civic leaders and business owners and things like that, there's these that I just, people are people, and people are wicked no matter what group they're in, and they're going to find a group that's going to allow that kind of behavior or promote it or encourage it, even if it's a secret within a secret. So,
and I'll tell you what, people like yourself and others, and the survivors, I think, are going to lead us out of this just hellhole that we're in. Number one, and mothers, because when mothers realize, that their children are being put at risk. At the least, they're being put at risk by something like this. That force has not been measured yet, and I think it's yet to appear in this issue. And but I'm pretty sure you, Missy, Becky, V, Des, I know my mom was. You come near a child or their child, and there will be hell to pay, and it would be worse than any war for any of these people. They just. And
I think it's important that people do their own research for that reason, because people are so quick to just click retweet or to just glance over, the article or glance over the title or something, and because it's not their family or someone they know, it doesn't sink in. It's kind of removed, and so the desire to do something to protect or to prevent, it's not as strong. But once you dig into this and you see for yourself, you cannot deny what you're seeing. Even if you can't explain it and put all the pieces together, you can at least see that something is not right. And we still need to ask questions. That's at minimum. And that's why I think do your own research is so important, because you have to see for yourself. Yeah. And like that HuffPost article, you can't trust everything that you see.
Right. And I know our little friend will be appearing in the Twitter line later, but last week he's like, "Oh, that article is garbage." I'm like, "Okay, well, what about it is garbage?" Okay, well, here's a quote from his own organization, and they're saying Freemasonry is a fraternal association of men of good and high ideals, but it's not a public association. Private is a more appropriate description than secret. Okay, let's mince some words there, or parse words. And as with many many organizations, certain information is reserved for members only. Is this information? Is that reserved for members only? That's what I want to know. You know, this information that supposedly is being deleted and flies into cyberspace. You know, I'm interested in that information, and it does. The article goes on and it gives a pretty good, you know, short history of masonry. But go ahead, you guys talk. I'm trying to get some very good points out of it.
I'm just looking. It seems as though some states have disproportionate amount of members. Apparently, I live in the Masonic capital of the country. Pennsylvania apparently has 111,000 members. Ohio has 97,000 members. Georgia has somewhere around 50,000. There's some states have like 40, 50,000. I'm just looking at South Carolina, Kentucky, Indiana is very high. Some have, like 10,000, 15,000, but, just interesting to see where they, Tennessee has 45,000 members. So I don't know. It seems interesting to me.
I'm curious to know where or who the idea originated from.
Well, here we go.
In the very, very beginning.
And I think this is as close as we're ever going to know. But right in this article, it talks about, the genesis of this thing. And it says it surfaces as a child identification project, blah, blah, blah. And but with advances in technology, it began to offer digital fingerprints, imaging, video, dental impressions, and DNA mouth swabs. This data processing is managed by don't call it secret, but what is it, private software that's designed to be compatible with local and national law enforcement. It isn't, however, but it's designed for that. And it said this, after all, is a campaign created by the police and the Brotherhood, regardless of its private funding. So,
but why isn't it implemented? Why do they have any authority whatsoever to implement this type of program working with police? It's like the National Center of Missing and Exploited Children. They're doing police work. Like, why are they doing FBI work? Why are they the ones in charge of doing that? Like, who gave them the authority?
And why would they spend so much money implementing these digital programs to contain and collect and database all of this information if as soon as they put it off on this scented DVD that they are going to just wipe it clean?
Exactly.
You could enter that information on a PDF piece of paper and you have a child actually do a live fingerprint with ink and it would work just the same. You know what I'm saying? Somebody had to do this, make this computer program, and that probably took a long time and wasn't free.
Yeah, and a little trick that they use, and it's right here in their disclaimer. Again, this guy had a problem with this article. It's all bullshit. But here's another direct quote from his own organization. We, the Freemasons, are the sole sponsor of the Masonic Safety Identification Initiative as developed in our various Masonic Grand Lodge jurisdictions. As such, we schedule the events and coordinate the equipment, materials, and volunteers necessary to conduct the events. All groups and individuals are welcome to work alongside, but they are not referred to as sponsors, but listed and involved as supporters, quote, supporting partners, quote, corporate partners, quote, in collaboration with, or, quote, in cooperation with. So they have no right to any of this information, or apparently to ask any questions, it would seem like.
But if the parent walks up to the little table with the little tablecloth and the person holding the sign, free ID, if the parent consents, then they will say that legally they have a right to it due to the consent of the parent.
Well,
and go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that, I mean, there are so many questions surrounding this program, and the fact that there was no telephone number. A telephone number does not exist where you could, before you get to one of these events, and they have 7 events coming up from October 21st until November 18th, listed right on the website, that, you can't get any information via telephone. I mean, it's absurd. It's absolutely absurd.
Yeah. Well,
and let's say one of those children goes missing, right? You want to be able to call anybody and everybody to try to gather help. You're going to say, hey, those people took my kid's fingerprints. Maybe they can help us, track my kid down. And yet now there's no phone number for anybody to make contact. Why?
No, or you're going to the website and you go to a poker site.
Right. Well, they're working closely with the police and blah, 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 blah. I don't.
Another great part of this article is the FBI has standards on DNA use, identification, collection, and they're not even close. Okay, it's the parents. I'll quote from the article again. It's the parents' DNA that could aid in matching the unnamed, but and the elephant in the room is all this information sounds to me like it could only be used to identify a dead child. Okay, nothing in it would be of any value finding a lost or kidnapped child at all. So at any rate, it's the parents' DNA that could aid matching the unnamed, but only accredited laboratories are permitted to conduct the process. So why is the FBI allowing that? That's a question that flashes across my old brain.
Oh, wait a second. I found the phone number. All right, I found a phone number. It was on one of their marketing materials. All right. I can make a phone call in the next 2 days.
So we're getting short.
If it's not, the phone number's not on their website for some reason. They wouldn't put it on the website, but it is on a looks like some type of brochure that they're putting out.
What's the brochure related to?
Talking about the chipping program.
Oh, okay.
It's on the community fundraising. It's community fundraising books. The goals about the Georgia Chip program. What is the Georgia Chip program? Contact details, calendar events. I don't know if this was put out, but they do have a phone number on this. Why they wouldn't put that phone number on their website? You tell me.
I wonder if there's any statistics available about the success of that program in finding any children.
It just says 113,000 have been identified. Whatever that.
And I think that's in Georgia. The number they have in this article, and this is in a country, mind you, that didn't have a DNA database because the government would not allow one. They registered 1.5 million children. Okay, with information that couldn't be used. So
we're gonna get caught with the music in 2 seconds.
Yeah. Well, I know we're going to be on this. Can you join us? I don't know if Missy can join us again, but just thank you. I know you're going to be investigating this, and nobody I know does a better job. So,
well, thank you for having me. I'm dedicated to anything I can do.
And you do it well. Thanks, Howie. Thanks, Missy.
Bye, guys.
There'll be more on Thursday. Stay on.